Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Boiling Point Sports Podcast. So this episode we're going to be talking about the Miami Heat playing the Milwaukee Bucks in Miami. So basically, the Heat just proved that they are the front runners in beating the Bucks in the playoffs. So for right now, the way it stands, they would get fourth seed, playing the Bucks in the second round, which I really do prefer playing them over a team like the Celtics. I feel like the Celtics would be a harder team for the Heat to beat, since their superstar player is Jason Tatum, who is an excellent 3-point shooter, which would be tough for the Heat to contain. But a guy like Giannis, he drives into the paint, it's much easier for the Heat to be able to contain him, since the Heat have been doing that for a very, very long time. And so really, Giannis he shot 6 for 18 from the field tonight, 13 points. He played atrocious, awful. You could tell he was just out of it. And that just shows that the Heat are Giannis stoppers. They stop almost every single time they play the Bucks. Even this season, last season, every season, they stop Giannis. Last season, I think he had a game where he dropped 9 points against the Heat. And that's when the Heat were bad and didn't make the playoffs. The Heat, the way that they just stacked the paint and put bodies in the paint to stop Giannis, and then the way they contained the Bucks shooting tonight, they shot 20%. They shot, I believe, 7 of 34, something like that. And they shot really, really, really poorly tonight. And that just shows that the Heat could stop Giannis and limit their perimeter shooting. Dante DiVincenzo had a really good first half, but then got contained in the second half. And the Bucks, who averaged, I think 120 points a game, were held to 89. The fact that the Heat did that just is super impressive and hasn't been done before this season. On top of a 16-point win, that again has not been done this season. And when it goes to Miami scoring 105 points, they didn't really have any specific player who played amazing. Every single person just did their part. No one scored over 20 points on the Heat. Every single person did what they needed to do. Kelly Olynyk broke Brook Lopez's ankles. He hit threes when he needed to. Jimmy Butler played good offense, defense, what you expect from him to play. Bam was a bit rough on offense tonight, but that's expected when you're playing the best defensive team, especially when it comes to paint defense in the NBA. But then his defense against Giannis, this just shows that Bam should be top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year voting, and he should be in the one of the All NBA defensive teams. He clamped up Giannis today perfectly. Whenever he wanted to drive in anything, Bam clamped him up. When it came to his lateral quickness, stopping Giannis one-on-one when he tried to shoulder bump him, everything Bam stopped. And that just shows how good and elite and versatile Bam is on the defensive end. And then someone like Duncan Robinson, in the third quarter, he was hitting contested shots from the corner nonstop. He was 6'7", he was shooting over everyone. And they look like bad shots to me, because there's a guy right in his face, and he would just jump over them and shoot, and it banged them, which is crazy. And then Goran Dragic also, he came in with I think 15 points. He had a really good third quarter. He did his thing. Everyone did what they needed to do. Jay Crowder, 5 of 9 from 3. He was banging from 3 tonight. He was on fire, and ever since joining the Heat, he's averaging I believe 14 points a game. Well over 40% from 3. He's having an awful season playing for the Grizzlies, but now since joining the Heat, he's been playing lights out, trying to get that nice contract since he has an expiring contract. He's going to be a really key piece in the playoffs this season. Andre Iguodala, again, he might not be doing much on offense, but on defense, he's playing elite defense, something just as Winslow couldn't do since he was injured. And he's bringing that defense and that veteran leadership to the team as well. And every single person, we didn't have Myers Leonard or Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero, a 13-point per game scorer that comes off the bench. He wasn't here. He couldn't play tonight. Myers Leonard, who is at least for us, an elite player that we need, our starting center. And then what's happening with him? He's been having a sprained ankle for the past 12 games, and so even though he might not seem as the best defender, there are statistics showing that he is one of the best defenders on the Heat just because of what he brings. He's 7 foot. He's always in position. And we don't have another 7-footer who's always in position. Kelly Olynyk, he's not the best defender. He's been playing well, but he's not the best defender. Myers Leonard is just as important as any other center in the NBA for those specific teams. And we couldn't have him tonight. We had to play a small ball lineup of Bam and Derrick Jones Jr. to start out, and it worked. So once those two guys come back for the playoffs, the Heat are going to be even better. And for me, this just shows how the Heat are easily a top 3 team in the East. Maybe even a top 5 team in the NBA. Because the Heat, for me, the Heat are better than the Bucks, honestly. And if not that, the Heat, I think the Heat are better than the Bucks, just period. So for the Heat, what I think is the Celtics are the only threat to them right now. The Celtics are a really good team, and that's their only threat. So in the playoffs, if they play the Bucks, I think it'll be tough, but I think they could beat them. Obviously, the first round playing the Sixers or the Pacers, I could think that he could beat both of them in 4, 5, or 6. And when it comes to the Eastern Conference Finals, I'd rather play the Raptors than the Celtics, because the Raptors, when it comes to matching up with the Heat are way better at playing the Raptors than playing the Celtics. For the Heat, the Raptors would be an easy 5 or 6 game series. They would wrap it just like they've already done 2 times this season. They would wrap them up, do what they need to do. Much easier. It would be so much easier for the Heat to play them than to play the Celtics. The Celtics are such a better team than the Raptors, and then honestly than the Heat. The Celtics are insane, but hopefully with Myers Leonard, Tar Hero coming back, and the Heat going into a bit of a winning streak and going to the playoffs, getting a bit of momentum, could hopefully. If the Heat make the finals, which I think is definitely possible, even if they do get swept, obviously, most Heat fans would be a bit sad that they made the finals and got swept, or just lost in general. But just having the Eastern Conference trophy, winning the East with the team that they have right now, they only have one superstar player. And winning the East with that team would already just show how this team, with adding any other superstar in the offseason, would make them easily championship contenders. So just making the finals would be insane. Obviously, it would come with the disappointment of losing the finals, which is never fun. But it would bring certainty to Heat fans and the Heat organization and Pat Riley that this Heat team and the coaching staff is built for winning championships. Because if they could add a player like Bradley Beal, right? Let's say they trade away Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn, and then bring in a player like Bradley Beal, and then the Wizards would also want to trade John Wall. Let's say that we also get John Wall. Yes, he's a bit washed because of the injury, but having a starting lineup like John Wall, Bradley Beal, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and then throw in Derrick Jones Jr. Or we could maybe re-sign Myers Leonard. We could get any big in free agency, a decent big, or even trade for a decent big, and then we have a decent big there, right? And then off the bench, we would still have guys like Duncan Robinson. Let's say Derrick Jones Jr. plays off the bench. We could re-sign Goran Dragic. We could sign a decent role player in free agency, and then we'd have a stacked team, and that's just within one offseason. That's not even talking about the stacked free agency class that's coming in 2021 with players like Oladipo, Giannis, all these guys. And don't forget about Embiid either, because Embiid, if he gets unhappy in Philly, he'd be insane in Miami. He'd be in the best shape of his career. He'd be looking like Hakeem Olajuwon on the Heat. So, yeah, it's looking good for the Heat right now. They gave up 130 points to teams like the Timberwolves and the Cavs and all these trash teams, but they always show up against the good teams, which I guess is pretty good. So that'll wrap it up for this episode of the Boiling Point Sports Podcast, and I hope you all of you have a great day.